There comes a moment in everyone's life, a quiet pause in the rush of days when you look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I enough? You see your reflection, and behind it, 1,000 comparisons flicker through your mind. The friend who always seems to have it together, the colleague who climbs higher and faster, the stranger on social media whose life appears picture perfect. In that moment, it's easy to forget yourself, swallowed by the urge to measure up, to fit in, to be more. But close your eyes for a second and listen. There's a story unfolding, your own story, unique and irreplaceable, woven with threads no one else can claim. Today, let's step into that story and discover why the greatest gift you can give yourself is acceptance. Because after this, you will never compare yourself again. Instead, you will embrace who you are and inspire others to do the same. In a small town nestled between mountains and whispering rivers lived a boy named Min. Min was quiet, introspective, and often found himself lost in thought while others played or joked around. At school, he watched classmates excel in sports, music, and academics. Some were natural leaders, charismatic and confident. Min felt invisible beside them, wondering why he couldn't be more like his peers. Every evening, Min would sit by his window and gaze at the stars. He'd count them, one by one, and imagine their stories. He wished, more than anything, to shine as brightly as those stars, to belong, to be noticed, to matter. But the more he tried to mimic others, the dimmer his own light became. One day, Min's teacher announced a school-wide talent show. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as students prepared their acts, singing, dancing, performing magic tricks, showing off athletic skills. Min felt a pang of envy and insecurity. He had no special talent, or so he thought. He considered skipping the show altogether, but something deep within nudged him to try. That night, Min sat with his grandmother. Sensing his unease, she gently asked, "Why do you look so troubled, my child?" Min hesitated, then poured out his heart, confessing his fears of not measuring up, of disappointing others, of never being enough. His grandmother listened quietly, and then placed her weathered hand over his. "Let me tell you a story," she said. "When I was your age, I felt the same way. I saw others running faster, speaking louder, shining brighter. I thought I was just a shadow in their light. But then I met a wise old gardener. He showed me his garden, filled with all kinds of flowers. Some were tall, some small, some vibrant, some subtle. I asked him, 'Which flower is the most beautiful?' He smiled and said, 'Each flower blooms in its own way. If you compare a rose to a lotus, you'll miss the fragrance of the rose and the calm of the lotus. The garden is beautiful because every flower embraces its own nature. That is the secret to happiness. Accept who you are and you will bloom.'" Min sat in silence, letting the story sink in. For the first time, he realized he didn't have to be like anyone else. He could be himself. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Inspired, Min decided to participate in the talent show. But instead of trying to imitate others, he chose to share something close to his heart: his stories. On the day of the show, Min stood nervously backstage. The crowd was lively, and the performances were dazzling. When his turn came, Min stepped onto the stage, trembling but determined. He began to tell a story about the stars he counted every night, about the garden of flowers, about the journey to accepting oneself. His words were gentle yet powerful, weaving images that touched the audience's hearts. As Min spoke, he stopped worrying about how he compared to others. He simply let his true self shine through. When he finished, the auditorium was silent for a moment, then erupted in applause. Min's story had resonated with everyone: teachers, students, even parents. Tears glistened in some eyes. Min saw at last that his uniqueness was his strength. In sharing his authentic self, he inspired others to do the same. From that day forward, Min stopped comparing himself to others. He understood that every person has their own path, their own talents, their own challenges. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy, confidence, and peace. Acceptance, on the other hand, is a gift. It's the moment you realize you're enough, just as you are. But the story doesn't end with Min. It echoes in all our lives. We live in a world that constantly encourages comparison. Social media, advertisements, even well-meaning friends and family push us to measure our worth against others. We look for validation in likes, praise, and recognition. We forget that the only validation that truly matters is the one that comes from within. Think about the times you've compared yourself. Maybe you felt less successful, less attractive, less intelligent. But consider this. Would you compare a sunrise to a sunset? Each is breathtaking in its own way. Would you compare the melody of a flute to the rhythm of a drum? Each brings something irreplaceable to the music of life. Accepting who you are means embracing every part of your journey, the triumphs and the failures, the strengths and the weaknesses. It means recognizing that you are a work in progress, and that's perfectly okay. It's understanding that your story is valuable, precisely because it's yours. When you accept yourself, something magical happens. You stop seeking approval from others and start living authentically. You pursue your passions without fear of judgment. You build deeper, more genuine relationships. You discover inner peace, and that peace radiates outwards, inspiring everyone around you. The courage to accept yourself is the spark that ignites transformation. It's the foundation of self-love, the root of resilience, the source of happiness. It's what allows you to celebrate others without feeling diminished, to lift others up without losing yourself. Let's return to the garden in Min's grandmother's story. Imagine yourself as a flower in that garden. You don't need to be the tallest, the brightest, or the rarest. You just need to bloom in your own way. The garden would not be complete without you. Your presence adds color, fragrance, and life. Acceptance is not about settling for less. It's about realizing that your worth has never depended on comparison. It's about growing, learning, and becoming the best version of yourself, not someone else. It's about breaking free from the chains of should and must, and discovering the joy of I am. If you ever feel the urge to compare, pause and remember Min's story. Remember the garden. Remember the stars. Remind yourself that you are enough and that your journey matters. Now imagine what would happen if everyone stopped comparing and started accepting. The world would be transformed. We would celebrate diversity instead of conformity. We would support each other's dreams instead of competing for validation. We would find strength in our differences and unity in our authenticity. Each time you choose acceptance, you light a spark for someone else. You show them that it's possible to love themselves, to be proud of their journey, to stand tall as who they are. You become a beacon, guiding others through the storms of insecurity and self-doubt. The next time you look in the mirror, don't search for flaws or compare yourself to anyone else. See the person you are, the one who has overcome challenges, learned lessons, and dared to dream. See the beauty in your scars, the wisdom in your eyes, the hope in your heart. You are not defined by your achievements or your failures. You are not measured by the standards of others. You are a living story, one that is still unfolding, still growing, still blooming. Embrace your uniqueness. Celebrate your journey. Accept who you are, and you will never need to compare yourself again. You will find peace, purpose, and unshakable confidence. This is your moment. Choose acceptance. Choose authenticity. Choose to inspire by being the truest version of yourself. Because in the story of your life, you are the hero, and the world needs your light just as you are.